Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next episode of the King Lincoln Show. Uh, Today, I want to continue telling you the story of my sad, terrible, pathetic life, and I want to continue telling you about some of the things that happened after I got back from my tragic, awful year overseas, where I had a mental breakdown and basically became an insane person. So I've already told you some of the things that went on with my family and friends and how I ended up pretty much losing all my friends and everyone was kind of upset at me and stuff. And some of the things that happened with my family, all the conflicts and whatnot. Now I'll tell you about some of the other things I did and some of the other stuff that happened. So I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, when I was overseas, I deferred my degree, and when I got back, I had one semester left that I had to finish, and somehow, despite everything, I had passed my courses when I was overseas. Those two semesters that I did over there, and somehow, despite everything that was going on with me personally and mentally, I managed to pass my last semester, which I did back in Australia as well. And I didn't try to do any theatre or acting or anything. I just did all creative writing units, and somehow I ended up muddling my way through. There was one class that I did in my last semester when I came back that I really liked, and it was basically like you get to do a big writing project, and it can be like largely whatever you want. And I did one which was really, really crazy, and it was kind of just reflecting all the stuff that was going on with me mentally, and it was basically portraying a character that was losing his mind, and it was very much like me, but kind of dramatized. And it wasn't really like a story um, from start to finish. Like one day there was this guy, and then this happened, and then this happened. It was like from first person, and it was all kind of like crazy diary entries from a crazy person. And I actually got a really, really good mark for it. I think I got like 84% or 89%, which for the way we're marked in like university where I'm from, that is crazy high. But yeah, it was a very interesting story. I don't think I have it anymore. But yeah, there are one or two things that I wrote around that time which I think were actually good or at least quite interesting. Um, but yeah, that was a very good experience for me actually because I found writing that very therapeutic, very cathartic. But I also kind of was maybe showing everyone that I was like a crazy person by writing that. Some of the people in the class really didn't like me. And when they had to read my work out and stuff, they would like kind of roll their eyes. I remember there was this one guy, he was a gay guy, and he was like, I don't like this kind of thing. Like, I like a proper narrative. This isn't my kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. And he had to read some of my work out, and he read it out like trying to make it sound bad. But I'm like, it still sounds good. Even when he tries to read it out and make it sound bad, it still sounds good. That's what I thought. Um, but yeah, it was a pretty trippy story. But anyway, so yeah, despite my advanced mental illness, my serious mental incapacities, I somehow muddled my way through the end of my degree. Um, and I got a completely useless degree in creative writing and theater. Like, what the fuck you gonna do with that? And I did a lot of different jobs. I tried a lot of different jobs when I got back, and they were all extremely shitty jobs, which were the only ones I could get. And I had a really hard time even just holding down the most basic menial job you can think of. That was like a huge challenge for me then. And really, no one was helping me. Like, no one was helping me or trying to hook me up. It was just me trying to find some way to make money. And it was all like the dregs of society type stuff. Like, I didn't have the ability to like nail anything else, to get anything else, to keep anything else. And yeah, even keeping like the most basic, easy, menial type of work was super hard for me. So when I first got back, I remember I worked at this really shitty place. We I don't know if we have it anymore. I guess we probably do. But we had something called labor hire, which is like you sign up for a company for a specific kind of work, like construction or hospitality or whatever, and the company contracts you out to different places. And I signed up for one of those labor hire companies, and they sent me to this shitty, awful place, which was kind of like I can't even remember what we was trying to do, but they had big piles of like sand, different kinds of sand, I think different kinds of gravel, different kinds of like wood chips and stuff. And we would basically have to pick rubbish out of like, they'd have big like fields of like rocks and stuff when you have to like pick up rubbish. And they had this like, it was all outdoors and it was just like a huge yard or whatever. And they had like bulldozers and stuff. And they had this one big conveyor belt and they'd run like wood chips through it and we'd like have to pick out rubbish and bits of plastic from it. And yeah, it was just really awful. And the lunchroom and the toilets were these like shitty little demountable buildings. And there was only a few other people working there and they were all retarded. And yeah, that's one job I did. And it was so bad, like it was so like terrible and depressing that I don't think I stayed that long. I asked the labor hire company, can I go somewhere else? Like, I don't want to go there again anymore. People would come for like one day and then just be like, oh, fuck this, and then leave. But I stayed there for a while. But yeah. And I worked at a different place. It was like pick packing in a warehouse. And it was run by this huge fat guy. And we had all these like different food products and stuff, like packaged food type stuff. And you just have to like yeah, pick the orders that are going to be sent to the different shops. And yeah, it was quite shitty and boring too. And sometimes you have to go in the freezer, like we had all these frozen foods, and you have to put on a big jacket and go in a freezer and try and like a big walk-in freezer and try and rummage around and find all the right products. And the place was a fucking mess. Like it was just a fucking shit show. It was like a fucking disaster. It was impossible to find anything. Um, and there was one guy who'd been there, like a young guy who'd been there for years. And like a lot of stuff, the only way to find it was to ask him because he knew all the idiosyncratic, like random way everything was put everywhere. Yeah, it was just a mess. And they tried making me into a sales rep. So going around to the different stores, like driving around to the different shops to take the orders. Um, but I wasn't very good at that. But they kept letting me do it for a while. But then I was still struggling with all this mental illness stuff. I was still feeling all anxious and paranoid and frazzled all the time and having all these like intrusive thoughts and stuff. And I quit that job like a while after they tried making me into a sales rep. I just wasn't handling everything. I was still under eating. I was still really skinny. And yeah, I just quit. This was a long time ago, so I kind of don't totally remember the order of everything, like the order, how everything happened. But another thing that happened was I answered an ad online for like, something about making money. Oh, I hate even telling this story. It's so fucking embarrassing. But it ended up being for um, something called Herbalife, if you've heard of that. It's basically like a multi-level marketing scheme thing, which is kind of like a pyramid scheme, I think. Um, and it's basically like you sell like vitamins and protein powders and nutritional supplements to people. And I never sold anything. I think I sold like one or two things in my entire life. Like one thing to my mom and one thing to like one friend who, like, after that, they didn't want to be my friend anymore. And yeah, this weird guy, like, when I answered the ad, this weird guy, like, took me to these groups and stuff and took me to these talks. And I would try to recruit like some friends that I still had at that time, and like no one was into it. And I even convinced a few friends to come to one of these talks, and it was just like really shit. And they were like, "What the fuck has he got us into?" And yeah, a few people I tried to sell this stuff to them, like weight loss supplements and stuff. And uh, I'll tell you later about the different times I tried living not at home, like not with my folks, which none of those attempts went that well. But yeah, I was living in this share house, and I tried having like a kind of like a launch party to convince people to buy this shit, and like it was really bad, and no one bought anything, and it just stressed me out and made me look stupid in front of the the friends I had, any friends I had left, or anyone I convinced to come. And then, yeah, I just quit. It was stupid. I never made any money. It was just awful. And it was a product of like that mental illness, basically. Like I was very, very impressionable. And like in large part, whatever someone would ask me to do or say or ask me to do, I would just say yes. I would just go along with it. Like it was just part of me being fucked in the head. And yeah, it's all very regrettable. And I also worked in a kind of factory that made like, I don't know what we made, like lights. And I think it was lights. Yeah. All sorts of different lights for like mining companies and other factories and stuff, I guess, like big light machines and stuff. And I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. There was this guy, he was like some kind of manager or like process engineer or something. And it would just give me odd little tasks to do, like, you know, just random little shit in the workshop. And he never gave me enough to do. And it was just like, I really had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. And I actually saw someone I went to school with came there, and they like saw me working there, like, and they came to work there for a short time, and I was so embarrassed because, yeah, I definitely wanted to be doing something better in life, like by that time, and yeah, it was like a nightmare come true, like someone, yeah, coming to work where I worked, who I knew from back in the day. So it was really embarrassing, and I was like, oh, fuck this. But they stayed for a while and then they left. Um, but at this time, I was still like struggling with all this like eating disorder shit. I always felt tired. I never had energy. Just my whole body just always felt all fucked up and weird. I didn't know, like, I was really out of touch with my body because I was so in my head and I was trying all this different shit. Like, one day I'd come in and for lunch, I'd just have like some salad and like a tiny piece of salmon. And everyone would be like, is that all you're going to eat? Like, man, if I did that, I'd be fucking dying. And then I'd like totally go the other extreme and bring like all these chicken breasts and all this sweet potato and like all this fucking food. And everyone would be like, what the fuck? You brought like a whole Christmas dinner. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I really couldn't handle the like attention and the pressure. And I was like, no, I don't know. Leave me alone. Like a fucking retard. But there was one kind of supervisor guy there that didn't like me. Um, I think he used to see me just kind of like walking around, like thought I wasn't doing anything. But the guy who was in charge of me just wouldn't give me enough stuff to do. Wasn't my fault, but yeah, I ended up getting fired. So that was shit. Um, I did a bunch of other jobs, but exactly the order and everything of it is very hazy at this point. Um, I did a bunch of just like dishwashing jobs. I washed dishes in this one like cafe kind of place, and it was like the world's worst cafe. And like people would always complain about the food, and like the the owner was this like like crazy lady who had no idea how to run a business. She just had randomly bought this business and it ended up running out of money. Like people would come and bring the stock, like they bring, you know, the fruit and veg or whatever, and they would wait and like have to be paid on the spot. And they wouldn't leave. They'd be like, no, no, we're not leaving until we get paid. Like they wouldn't extend credit to this lady or anything because she like couldn't pay her bills. And yeah, one day I came in and just the place was all like boarded up. It was all like boarded up and it was shut down. Like there was a sign saying that like, yeah, the business had been, I don't know what the sign said exactly, but it's like this business is closed basically. I was like, holy fuck. Guess I don't work here anymore because this business doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, just like never heard from anyone again. That was it. And yeah, I think I worked at a few more places like that, just like washing dishes and just very basic like kitchen hand, hospitality type stuff. Um, this is another really embarrassing thing. For some fucking reason, I got it into my head that it would be a good idea to try to work in childcare. This shit is for like girls. Like this shit is for like 23-year-old girls who are in like uni or something, or I don't know. I don't know why the fuck I did that. Like, just none of my decisions were made any sense in those days. All my stupid decisions from those times can just be put down to like mental retardation, mental fucking illness. I think maybe what I was thinking was like I'd get to be a kid, you know? It'd be fun and like I get to just be a big kid all day or something like that. I really don't know what the fuck was behind my retarded thought processes. But yeah, I um, got a job. I managed to swindle this job uh, at this childcare center in a bad suburb. I didn't realize what a bad suburb it was at the start. But yeah, I managed to like fake my way through the interview somehow and get hired. And it was just a nightmare. Like the first day, all the kids like liked me, but they were like just like climbing all over me and like, you know, like I would give them like dizzy wizzies and stuff, and then the teachers would be like, "You can't do that," and like, yeah, the kids were just like running amok around me, and it was just really bad. And there was because it was like a bad suburb, or partly because of that, I guess. There was some kids who were just like crazy. Like there was this one little kid. He was probably 2 or 3 years old, and he'd just go around biting people. And like no matter what we did, we couldn't get him to stop. And there was this other really like naughty kid who was older. He was like maybe 10, 10 or 11 or something. Yeah, he was just always misbehaving. Like it was impossible to like get him to do what you wanted or anything. And it was just awful. And the lady who ran it, who owned it, was really fat, and she was just terrible as well. Like I remember one time, this kid was like throwing a tantrum, not wanting to put sun cream on, and she basically grabbed him and just like forced sun cream all over his face, just like manhandled him, like grabbed him and manhandled him and just like smushed sun cream all over his face and was like, "There, now go outside." I was like, holy shit. And I actually had to report, I think it was twice, I had to report kids who said something that was like that their parents were abusing them. Like little kids, you know how little kids don't really know what they're saying? And they like say something their parents did and it's like some fucked up thing. And I was like, what? And then I had to like then you have to report it to the manager or whatever. And like I did the first one and she was like, "Oh, okay, thanks for telling me and everything." And then it happened again. And I was like, "Oh shit, now I'm gonna look like an idiot because I gotta report this same type of thing like again, like straight after the first one that happened." And she was like, "What? No, I know those parents. They're really nice or whatever." And I'm like, "All right. I don't know. That's just what I heard." And yeah, it was awful. Just the whole thing was awful. All the other people that worked there were all like bogans, bogan women who were really like stressed and hated their lives. In hindsight, I wonder if the people that worked there suspected I was some kind of pedophile or something. Because why would a fucking guy, a young guy, try to work in childcare? It doesn't make any sense. Like one girl was like, "Why do you want to work here, honestly?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't even remember what I said." Gave some reason, "Oh, I thought it would be nice, blah, blah, blah." Fucking idiot. And after working there for a little while, I was supposed to be doing some kind of traineeship as part of working there. And the boss lady, who was so impressed with me at the interview, was like, "I haven't been able to tick a single thing off to say that you're like able to do it, that you're competent in it. Like, this is a problem." And I was just like, "Oh, okay. I don't know." And I did my classic thing. I just ran away, basically. I quit. I was just like, "I don't know how to do this. This is too much for me." I just quit. So I think I did maybe a few other shitty jobs that I've forgotten about, but those are some of the main ones I can remember. I think the labor hire companies sent me to various other places too, you know, like unloading sea containers and different things like that. But yeah. So I did a bunch of shitty jobs. I quit some because they sucked or I sucked. Uh, one or two I got fired from. And it was really, really hard with this mental illness stuff going on. Still having anxiety, still having paranoia, still being all fucked up physically from eating disorder shit. It was really hard to, yeah, even hold down like a basic job. It was like a full on mission. And sometimes I failed at it. And when I first got back from overseas, I stayed with my folks, stayed with my parents. Um, and a bunch of times I tried moving out and like living in my own place or whatever, but it never worked out. It was just too much for me with all the mental illness shit going on. Like I couldn't handle it. I think the first time was my mom actually owns like a small house, like a unit, um, and some guy was renting it, had been renting it for a long time, but because I kept not getting on with my dad, and he kept shouting at me, and there'd be like arguments and conflicts all the time about all this, like, yeah, him being upset at me for being mentally unwell and blaming it on all the stuff I was supposedly into, and him saying I was like demon possessed and evil and all this shit. Um, she said she would let me live there. And so I moved there, and this poor old guy who'd been living there for ages had to get kicked out and had to move, even though he was like really old. And I feel really bad about that. I think I felt kind of bad about it at the time, but I didn't fully, like, I couldn't, in my mental state, I wasn't fully processing what was going on. But I think nowadays, I would feel really bad about that. And I would be like, no, no, don't kick out that old guy who's been there for years. Like, just, I'll figure something out. Like, let him live there. But that's what we did at that time, which was another regrettable thing that I still kind of feel bad about. I hope that guy, like, found a new place to live and everything. But to be fair, when I got there, like, the house was all kind of fucked up, and the room that was his bedroom smelled like piss. It smelled like total piss, and it had to be recarpeted and stuff. But I started living there, and my mum was trying to help me out. So I know I've said a bunch of times, no one really tried to help me. I guess my mum did try to help me out, like pretty significantly in this way. So I can't claim totally like no one tried to help me, but at first she said I could live there for free. And then she like every like week or so, every so often she'd be like, "Oh, actually, can you pay me this much?" And then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I guess." And then like soon after that, she's like, "Oh, actually, can you pay me like more?" And I was like, "Dude, like this is getting hard. This is getting towards just paying normal rent. Like this isn't what I agreed to. I don't know if I can even do this." So she kind of tried to help, but then kind of went back on helping in a way, was just very disorganized and like didn't end up being that helpful. But it was hard for me to even run my life. And I used to just be all crazy. I just used to be alone in that house and just be all crazy, like talk to myself and like yell at myself and have weird emotional outbursts and stuff. And I remember I overheard like it's like a some kind of it's not like a big block of flats, but it's like single houses, but they're kind of close together. And I remember overhearing like a neighbor being like, the guy that lives in that house is fucking crazy. He's like a shaman or something. And they're like, he'll be like crying one moment, and then he'll be like hysterically laughing and stuff. And he's just like in there by himself. It's fucking crazy. And then I felt really bad because I was like, firstly, that's true. And secondly, I don't know how to control it. Like, and I just felt bad and ashamed. And yeah, so one thing I did while I was there is I had all this stuff, and like I've mentioned before, I had this obsession with getting rid of stuff, like getting rid of my stuff. And I basically took all my possessions, and when there was like a you have those days where you put all your stuff, like all your junk out the front of your house and it gets taken away, like hard rubbish collection or whatever. When that came around, I put all my stuff out there except for like a few clothes and things I like totally couldn't do without. It was just this weird obsession of mine. Like, I think maybe I thought it would help me like move on from the past or like purge myself of something. It didn't work. It just meant I had no stuff and I was a mentally retarded person with no fucking stuff. But that's what I kept trying to do. It was this weird obsession. And I remember these two people, like these two young guys came across and were like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff. They're like, wow, a guitar, a fucking weight bench, dumbbells, look at all this shit. And they're like, they took it all. They're like, wow, it's the fucking jackpot. And I was just, yeah, fucking threw out all my stuff, gave away all my stuff. I was just a fucking nut. And when my mom started coming to the house to do like inspections and stuff, and I started freaking out. I started freaking out and having this kind of like irrational freak out that I was going to get trapped by my family again. Like, I was like, oh no, now my mom's starting to come here. Maybe my dad will start coming here. Like, my dad still knows where I live and all this shit. I was going all like crazy in my mind. All that childhood trauma shit coming back or whatever. So I moved out. I like quickly found another place to live. And it was this really crappy share house with some Asian and Indian uni students in a really bad neighborhood. And I didn't know it was a bad neighborhood. Like, I didn't do any research or anything. I would just do stuff randomly, impulsively, and agree to stuff impulsively. So I lived there for a while, and it wasn't really that bad. We just had to always lock the door, and the place was like a mess. And I don't know, it wasn't really that bad. It was just like a share house, but I was still all fucked up mentally. So I was just being weird all the time and found it kind of hard to get along with everyone. But it was around that time that I think I was having trouble paying my bills and stuff, and I was in this tiny room, renting this tiny room, and I had no stuff, and everyone thought I was weird who lived there because I didn't get a bed or a desk or anything. I just put a mattress on the floor, and then I had like one bag of stuff, and that was it. And they're like, "Where's all your stuff? Do you want some furniture or something?" I was like, "No." But it was around this time that I remember getting really, really sad about how my life was going and how everything had fallen apart. Like, my life had basically fallen apart. Like, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any prospects. I had a shitty job. I lived in a shitty place. I was all mentally fucked up and out of control and just like totally fucked mentally. I had no prospects, no career, nothing going on, nothing good happening. And I remember calling my mom and just like being really upset and stuff and just like kind of crying to her about how my life had fallen apart. And I kept trying to think of ways how I could go back to the past, how I could reverse everything that had happened. And saying to me, I remember her saying to me something like, look, Lincoln, like, I know you didn't plan for this to happen, but it has happened, and you just have to accept it. And it was like a moment where I kind of realized, like, there was no going back to the past. Like, there was no undoing, like, the mental breakdown. There was no undoing all the lost time and lost friends and connections and opportunities. It's like, yeah, all that stuff was kind of gone and I had to deal with it. And yeah, it was really hard. And I was just like really at a loss for what I was going to do and how I was going to turn things around. So I think from memory, I moved out of there and moved back home after that. And I was there for a while. And I can't remember what happened. I think my dad made an effort to get along with me. Um, and another time I tried moving out with some people I knew from school. I can't remember when in the timeline exactly this was, but someone I used to know from school advertised for a housemate on Facebook. And yeah, I tried living with her, and then one other girl that I went to school with came and lived with us. But I can't remember what happened. I think it just didn't last long. I really can't remember. But yeah, two more people that I humiliated myself in front of and like ruined any good memories I had of me from school because I was all anxious and frazzled and not good to live with. So yeah, it's all very tragic, all very sad. I apologize for my voice, by the way, if my voice sounds a bit fucked up. I got kind of a sore throat at the moment, so probably sounds kind of fucked. Hopefully it's not too bad. So another thing I did was I even sold my car. I don't know why I did this or how I even managed without my car, but like I was talking about my obsession with getting rid of everything. I got rid of all my possessions. I threw everything away. Like I kept doing it. And I even got rid of my car. It was like I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to like purge myself of stuff, but I really wanted to get rid of my car and I sold it really, really cheaply. And um my little sister was like, "You could have given it to me. Like that would have been so good." But I didn't even think of that. I was just like, I've got to get rid of all this stuff. Like, just had these crazy ideas in my mind. And yeah, I sold it for like way too cheap because I was like really impatient. And then I didn't even have a way to get around. Like, it was so stupid. I'll tell you another story. Um, there was this girl that I knew from school, and this isn't a perfect timeline. This is just another thing that happened around this period. But we did stay friends for a while, and I hung out a bunch, just like her and me. And I was telling her about all my like mental struggles, mental illness shit, and she was very sympathetic and she was like very nice and she was kind of trying to help me. And I think I would complain a lot about I mean, I had wanted to, do theater, do acting, do writing, and what I was saying probably didn't make much sense in hindsight, but I think I was just complaining about society and how I had to have some shitty job and couldn't do what I wanted or something. But I really don't think it made any sense. But she was very sympathetic. Um, but I didn't realize at the time because I was totally oblivious. But I think she wanted to be kind of like more than just friends or something. But at this time, um, the weird thing is, uh, all this like anxiety stuff and like mental illness stuff, it had made me kind of like it has shut down my libido for for the most part. I mean, I think it was kind of maybe it was kind of on and off, but yeah, I wasn't interested in girls or sex because I was always in this like nervous, highly strung state. I was always anxious, nervous, stressed. So I didn't really like, I wasn't interested in girls and stuff in those times. But I think she was interested in me romantically. Fucking no idea why, but supposedly she was. So we were just hanging out, and I would ask her, like, oh, do you have any men? Like, how's your love life going? Because I just saw myself as her friend. And one time she was like, oh, there's just this one guy who I'm hanging out with, you know, I'm lucky to be spending time with him. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I was so clueless that I don't think I realized until years later that she was talking about me. Maybe she wasn't, but I'm 99.9% sure that now that she was. And I remember one time I was hanging out with her one evening, and she was like, oh, we can like sit on my bed and like watch a movie or something. And she was still very much trying to help me with like anxiety and stuff. And she was like, oh, you can sit on the bed or you can get under the covers if you want, like up to you. Um, and she was like, she like showed me her, I think she was maybe taking some vitamins or something. She was like, oh, here's my vitamins and here's my no baby pill. Like she was like not very subtly telling me that she was on the pill. And then she said something like, yeah, just like sit here on the bed. And she's like, and take that, totally like non-sexually, or just, take it however you want, or some weird shit like that. And I was like, okay. And I was just watching some shitty show on her laptop. And then she went and had a shower. And I was totally oblivious to what was going on. This is how oblivious I was. And yeah, she came back from her shower and stuff. And then she was like really awkward and she was like, I have a guy coming over. So yeah, I think you might need to go. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, that'd be awkward if a guy came over and there was already one here. And then I left. And I don't think I realized for like, no, I think I eventually realized, but it was a while before I realized, like, duh, she wanted to have sex. Like, she was trying to have sex with you, and you were just like totally oblivious and not picking up on any of it. And then you guys didn't have sex. And she was horny, so then she called some other fuck buddy or something and got you to leave. And she must have just been like, gee, he really doesn't want to fuck. And I didn't. I really didn't at that time. Like, I was all crazy and like trying to figure out like myself and all my philosophies and stuff. And I really didn't give a fuck about girls and sex and stuff. And I was also just really oblivious. And I think one of the reasons that girl was so sympathetic was she was a nurse, and also she'd had her dad had like mental problems and stuff when she was growing up, but not like my dad with like anger problems and stuff, like the kind of mental problems where you feel sorry for the person and you want to help them. But the whole thing freaked me out because it was like, to me, it felt like she was following a script, like she was following a script invented by science, like invented by biology. She wasn't really being a person or treating me like a person. It was like, without actually saying what was happening, like saying what she wanted to do, she was like trying to get us into a relationship, or like get us into like, this like man, woman, male, female thing, like we were just drifting into it based on a script that like science had written for us, but without actually saying like, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to like be involved in this? Like, that's what I was thinking at the time. I mean, I think that is kind of insane. You don't need to say everything and spell everything out. Like, if you don't want to go out with someone, just don't keep going out with them. I was fucked in the head. Like, it doesn't really make sense exactly. And then one day we went to the beach together, and I was kind of mad about all that stuff that I just told you. Like, her just like not exactly saying her intentions and like kind of trying to get us to like drift into this thing together, which is a stupid complaint. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think it was Christmas, and I'd just eaten a lot of Christmas food, like leftover Christmas food. Must have been Boxing Day or something. And that was also part of why I was feeling kind of out of sorts. And I got really mad at her. Like, I treated her really badly. I was just like really like not responsive and just like mean when we were hanging out and like not talking. I could see she felt like really uncomfortable. And and I have this distinct memory of her in her bikini with this like really like kind of hurt, uncomfortable look on her face. I was just I was hanging out with her, but I was just like not talking, like being mean, looking cross. And I just remember the way she looked. Like, she looked so vulnerable. And like, yeah, I've always felt bad about this. Like, this is one of the things, treating her so bad, like, it really haunts me. Um, but we got home, and I basically like was shouting at her, like, if you want like some other thing, like what you want, you have to tell me, okay? Like, what your intentions are, like, you have to tell me. You understand? She's like, she was like, well, yeah, I do know what you mean, kind of thing. But what I was saying was basically insane. Like, it didn't make any sense. It's like, if you don't want to keep seeing someone, like, you're the one who has to say, like, oh, maybe I don't want to see you anymore or whatever. Or, like, not everything has to be spelled out. It's really stupid. And after I had that blow up with her and treated her so bad, I never saw her again. We never hung out again. And yeah, another friend I lost, another bridge I burned because of being mentally fucked in the head. And I've always felt really bad about that and regretted that. And how badly I acted has really always haunted me. And I never saw her again. I think I maybe messaged her like one more time. Um, I think we maybe had like one little message conversation after that, and I never really heard from her again. And I always wish I could say sorry because, yeah, I treated her really mean and she was really nice and she didn't deserve that. And she was a nice, pretty girl too. Like, imagine if I was a sane person, I could have had that sex that she wanted to give me, you know? Could have been something really nice, but I was fucked in the head and I turned it into just an awful memory. So, yeah, who knows what she's doing now. But yeah, I feel really sorry about that. And I wish she was around so I could say sorry. So, yeah, it's very sad and unfortunate. Um, all these kind of mental problems and stuff, they really destroyed my life. Like, without it, my life just could have been so different. Um, and I'm pretty much like better now. I don't suffer from anxiety. I don't have an eating disorder anymore. But I'm still really dealing with the fallout of everything that happened. You know, all the opportunities I wasn't able to get, all the years that passed me by and all that, uh, it has still taken its toll. So yeah, um, and I stopped being on great terms with my some members of my family too. Not so much. I wasn't really on like terrible terms with them, but I behaved like erratically and stuff at certain times, and they didn't seem to understand it was because of like mental struggles. It wasn't really within my control exactly. And I know it's a hard thing to understand. And it's also like where you draw the line of responsibility, like holding someone accountable versus being sympathetic for the problems they're going through. It is a difficult thing to understand and to navigate. And yeah, a lot of people did kind of give up on me and abandon me and whatnot. And the help I got was like pretty limited. But I don't really blame people in a way, because like if you're friends with someone, you're friends with them because you enjoy hanging out with them, you know? If you don't enjoy their company anymore, why would you continue being friends with them? So a lot of people just use that logic and they didn't want to be my friend anymore. It does make a lot of sense, really, even though it's sad. So, yeah, that's about all I have for this episode. In the next episode, I'll tell you about how I started getting interested in some stuff like meditation kind of stuff, some different kinds of philosophies and like yoga and stuff like that, and how that kind of caused more conflicts, but started to kind of help me work my way out of this mental illness type stuff. And I'll also tell you about how I deconverted from Christianity. I had a bunch of different experiences and did a bunch of like research and different stuff like that. And I ended up, yeah, losing my religion, giving up on Christianity. Um, I stopped believing in God. I realized most of the stuff I was taught as a kid about God and Jesus and religion and heaven and hell was all bullshit. And yeah, I became an atheist. So I'll tell you about all that stuff next time. Sorry, my voice is all kind of fucked up. I hope it wasn't too bad. Yeah, I have a sore throat. I've been coughing and stuff. I was maybe going to make this episode a little bit longer, but yeah, I'm kind of struggling with my voice at the moment. So I'll leave it here for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you maybe learned something or got something out of it. Thanks heaps for listening. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again next time.